An open-source time tracking tool called Tetra has a critical flaw that lets users jump from simple admin tasks to full-blown server takeover.
I'm Melody. That's Alec. Let's break it down.
So let's start with Tetra. It is CVE 2025-69288. It's got a CVSS score of 9.1 points, which is about as bad as it gets for a time tracking app. Essentially, an authenticated admin can modify a specific rule in the database, and because the app uses a node VM to execute that value as code without cleaning it up first, well, you get remote code execution.
Wait, Alec. Tetra is open source, right? I've seen a lot of boutique dev shops and freelancers use that to manage their billing. If an attacker gets into one of those accounts, they aren't just seeing how many hours you build for a project, they're basically moving into the house.
Exactly. Once they can execute code on the server, they can pivot to the rest of the network or scrape sensitive client data. If you're running Tetra, you need to be on version 0.99.49 immediately. It's a classic case of trusting the input where you really shouldn't.
It's funny you mentioned trusting input because looking at the rest of the list today, it feels like we're in a bit of a time machine. We've got flaws in Metern and Cypress solutions that are just now surfacing or getting priority, but the CVE IDs are from 2021.
Yeah, CVE 2021-47747 in Metern is a perfect example. It's an 8.8-point flaw where attackers can use post parameters to just run system commands. It's the same story with the Cypress Solutions CTM200 firmware. That one is CVE 2021-47745. It's a command injection flaw in the upgrade script.
Cypress Solutions. They do industrial IoT and fleet tracking, don't they? That's not just a web server. That's potentially a gateway into a vehicle or a remote site. Why are we seeing 2021 flaws hitting the critical list today? Is this a backlog issue, or are researchers just digging deeper into these older industrial boxes?
It's usually a bit of both. Sometimes a researcher finds a way to exploit an old bug more reliably, or a vendor finally acknowledges the report. But for the CTM200, the stakes are high because it's root access. If you haven't patched those gateways in 3 years, you've got a lot of cleaning up to do.
And speaking of industrial stuff, I noticed the Celia car plate server issues, CVE 2020-36903 and 36904. These are for license plate recognition systems. One is an unquoted service path, which feels like a classic Windows configuration mistake, and the other is a remote program execution flaw. Alec, this is exactly what we were talking about last month, with physical security tech being the weak link.
Right. If you can bypass authentication through the web endpoint and modify the server configuration, you can change admin passwords or execute binaries. For a system that's supposed to be part of a security perimeter, that's a massive irony.
Okay, let's shift gears to something a bit more modern. Feast. CVE 2025-11157. This is high severity, 7.8 points. It hits the Kubernetes materializer job. Alec, for those of us not in the MLOps trenches every day, what's the real-world risk here?
So Feast is a feature store for machine learning. It's basically the brain's pantry. It stores the data that AI models use to make decisions. The vulnerability is in how it handles YAML files. It uses a method called YAML.load with a standard loader, which is a big no-no because it allows the system to create arbitrary Python objects. If an attacker can influence those configuration files, they can execute code on the Kubernetes cluster.
Wait, this is giving me supply chain attack vibes. If you poison the feature store, you're not just breaking the app, you're potentially controlling the logic of the AI. It's like the move it all over again moment for the machine learning pipeline.
Exactly. It's a reminder that as we rush to build AI infrastructure, we're still making the same insecure deserialization mistakes we've been making for 20 years. If you're using Feast version 0.53.0, you need to look at how your materialization config is being handled.
We've also got a massive list of WordPress plugin flaws today. AA Team, Code Draft, Zoom Sounds. It's a mix of SQL injection and reflected XSS. It's the same old battleground, Alec. Does it ever feel like we're just playing whack-a-mole with these plugins?
It is whack-a-mole, but the moles are getting more dangerous. Take the AA Team Amazon Affiliates add-on, CVE 2025-30628. That's a straight SQL injection. If you're running a site that relies on affiliate income and someone dumps your database, you're out of business. Same for the Media Bay plugin, which has a blind SQL injection flaw, CVE 2025-28949.
And it's not just the big plugins. We're seeing a whole series of missing authorization flaws from a developer called Merkulov. They make things like Countdowner and CryptoPayer for Elementor. It looks like a dozen of their plugins have incorrectly configured access controls.
Right, those are all around the 5.4 point mark. It's not a "the world is ending" vulnerability, but it allows users to do things they shouldn't be able to do. If you're a WordPress admin, today is a select all update kind of morning.
Okay, let's move beyond the patch list. What's happening in the wild? I saw something about a botnet called Rondo Docs that's been busy for almost a year now.
Yeah, this is a persistent campaign that CloudSec has been tracking. It's called Rondo Docs. They've been targeting IoT devices and web servers for 9 months. But the big news is that they've started using a brand new exploit called React to Shell. That one is CVE 2025-55182, and it's a perfect 10.0 on the severity scale.
A 10? Those don't come around every day. React to Shell. Wait, is that hitting a specific framework, or is it a more general web app flaw?
It's hitting a wide range of applications that use a specific reactive shell component. The Rondo Docs actors are using it to enroll devices into their botnet. What's interesting is how quiet they've been. 9 months of activity before this latest surge shows they're not just spray and pray actors. They're maintaining a long-term infrastructure.
That reminds me of the Mirai botnet, but maybe more sophisticated if they're targeting web apps alongside IoT. It's that blurring of the lines between consumer and enterprise targets. Speaking of trends, the Threats Day Bulletin just dropped, and it's a bit of a grim start to 2026.
It really is. The highlight there is Ghost Ad Drain. It's a new evolution in how attackers are using subtle code tweaks and job scams to rewrite the cybercrime playbook. They're moving away from loud, obvious ransomware in some sectors and focusing on stealthier ways to drain assets or pivot through macOS environments.
I noticed the macOS mention. For a long time, people thought Macs were the safe choice in the office. But between these new proxy botnets and the job scams targeting developers on macOS, that shield is definitely gone. It feels like 2026 is going to be the year where Mac security stops being an afterthought.
It has to be. The attackers follow the users, and the users are on Macs. Whether it's through a malicious browser extension or a clever social engineering trick, the "it's a Mac, I don't need to worry" mindset is a vulnerability in itself.
Before we wrap up, I saw a piece on Adapt Browser. It's being pitched as a lightweight, task-focused browser. In a world where Chrome and Edge are becoming these massive, feature-heavy platforms, do you think moving to a smaller browser footprint actually helps with security?
It's a double-edged sword. A smaller codebase means a smaller attack surface, fewer background processes, and less bloat that could be exploited. But you lose the massive security teams that Google and Microsoft have. If a new zero-day hits Chromium, the big guys patch it in hours. A smaller project might take days. It's about what you're trying to defend against.
Right. It's the classic security through simplicity versus security through scale debate. I think for a lot of people, just reducing the noise and the number of plugins might be the bigger win.
Exactly. All right, let's get to the priority list for this morning. If you're running Tetra for time tracking, get to version 0.99.49 now. That is CVE 2025-69288. And if you have any industrial gateways from Cypress Solutions or license plate servers from Celia, it is time to audit those configurations. Those older flaws are being actively looked at by researchers and threat actors alike.
If this saved you time, subscribe and hit the bell. We're here every morning.
Stay patched, stay paranoid.